Good evening, and welcome to Real Talk with T. Holmes. Today, as we go into our segment, it feels like we have been connected in a couple of weeks. However, it's a whole vibe, a whole energy, because we feed off our own engine. Who we connect ourselves to will determine the type of positivity energy that we receive just as well as we put out. So I want to embrace you as we at the start of a new month, a new week. Walk into your week claiming abundance, prosperity, wealth, health, happiness, love, and joy. Be content not to be bitter in your heart, but you want to release all of that to be able to receive the inner of your inner circle. So as we close out our motivational segment, I would like to thank all of my sponsors who we are now elaborating to bring in to Real Talk with T. Holmes. I also would like to welcome my media crew and thank them, Wallace Media Group, for the dedication. Now, as we start our evening segment this evening, we would like to introduce Miss Latrina Caldwell. She's a serial entrepreneur, author, life coach, mental health life coach. She is a relationship family life coach. Every type of coach you could possibly need. I actually left my bio of her at home, so I will turn it over to Latrina. Look, being real today. So I will turn it over to Trina and allow her to introduce herself. So Latrina can give us some great feedback today. Latrina Caldwell, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to
Thank
be
you.
here.
I apologize for leaving my flashcards. Look, but we just being real on today. Real Talk with T. Holmes. I was moving too fast this evening. But Latrina, thank you for your time this evening. You and I have had several conversations, and we have a whole lot in common. But you have also kept it real in the conversations. So today, our topic will be who takes their power back. Because as you told me, at one point in time, you was powerless, and now you've taken your power back. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this segment is a part one, and we will talk about your latter end of life. Yeah, your latter end of life, where you experienced some domestic violence. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you give us a little bit information about that? Let's talk about when you was young, honey. You vibrant, you're looking good, feeling good, and you run into a young man. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you
Yes.
give us a little bit about this story today?
I will. Yes. Well, first, I saw, I seen domestic violence happening in my household.
Okay.
So it was already familiar to me. So
Mhm.
I grew up, and my mother is a survivor. So I had already seen that this, to me, it was kind of normal because I used to seeing it. So fast forward as I become a teenager and start my life, I walk right into the same cycle. And I was 17, and I dated him for a year or two. I ended up getting pregnant at 18, and same cycle with him. He saw his father abuse his mother, so he thought that that was normal. So we both had come from this cycle, and then we get together and created our own cycle. So,
Okay, so let me stop you right here. Um, you said that it was a familiarity for you, correct?
yes.
Okay, and then it's a familiarity for him, which brings me to discuss that we as black people, a lot of times, and I'm sure it goes on in all races, but I can speak for black. That's common for us to pick up what we seen in our past. You know, the generational cycles trickling on down. To whereas even if we know that this is really not what I want to deal with or what I don't want to do, a lot of times we don't have enough self confidence to break the cycle in the beginning before it starts. Would you agree?
100%.
Okay. So it's a generational curse for you. It's a generational curse for him. And as you and I both had discussed, nobody can break your curse but you, correct? Would you agree?
100%.
Okay. So I know you have two girls, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and their ages are what?
My oldest will be 21, and my
Okay.
baby just turned 17.
Okay. Okay. So before we get to fast forward to that part, I want to stay on the topic. So you get pregnant now. Like you said, it was familiarity for you and him as well. So give us a little bit about being 17, pregnant, and you are now experiencing a relationship with domestic violence.
Yes. Well, first I had moved from Chicago, where I was born and raised, to Minnesota, and I didn't have my mother here with me. So I was 17, came up here to start my life, and
So thank you. Um, I don't know if we having some technical issues. We might have lost Katrina for a minute. So if you give me 1 second, we will be right back. Thanks.
I'm back. I'm not sure what happened. Hello, can you hear me?
Welcome back, and we do apologize for the technical issues. Now, Latrina, you can go on with your story.
Sure. So, being 17, 18, pregnant, like I said, I was here in Minnesota, kind of alone. I
Excuse me
had
for 1 second.
family here, and then my dad was
We'll
here
be
with
right
me
back.
too.
Hold on
But
one, please. I
met a
can't hear.
guy.
Wait a minute. Now she probably asked you, can you hear her? Well,
Let me just restart the chat room. Or maybe do you want to
Yes, I
switch
hear
it?
you. which is crazy. Yes, yes, I hear you. It keeps kicking me out. I see Real Talk podcast with T Holmes. Yeah. The devil know he a liar. Dang. Yeah, cause he know.
Welcome back. As we have some difficult issues, we're going to rebuke Satan because he's just trying to keep Latrina's story from going forth today. But we rebuke him in the name of Jesus. So, Latrina, we will go forth, and you can finish with your story as we was at in the beginning.
Okay. Yes. So pregnant with the guy. The entire 9 months of my pregnancy, I was abused. Now, I thought just like a lot of victims that this is showing me that he cared, right? Because I'm 17, 18. I don't really know what love is. I don't even really know myself.
Correct.
I just know that I have this life inside of me. And I knew one thing, if I knew nothing else, that I had to protect this life. So the entire 9 months, it was horrible. It was horrible. And what it did to me was I felt like when I did leave, then my spirit was damaged. I felt really like lost and broken and unloved. And I just couldn't understand mentally at that time, how can somebody beat and choke and punch a 8 month, pregnant woman? I remember going to work one day with two black eyes. I was 8 months pregnant. And I wore sunglasses in the winter to work because I was ashamed. I didn't know. I just knew that I was going through something and I had to try to protect myself from him and everybody else. I couldn't even share. I didn't even know how to share at that time.
Okay, now Latrina, let me stop
So,
you right here. Um, a couple of months ago, I was out with some girlfriends, and it was someone, a mutual friend, that was joining us, and she said something that just reminded me of you saying, like you was protecting him. She said to me, the abusee will always protect the abuser. Now, I've never experienced domestic violence, but I do know that it come in other forms other than physical, verbally. I've experienced that in life. But would you agree with that? The abusee will protect the abuser, as you just said, correct?
yes, I
Okay.
agree without even being consciously aware.
Correct, correct.
Yes,
Okay.
I
But
agree.
when you say that, what do you mean by that? Not being aware.
Um, just at my age, I was young. So,
Correct.
what do you really know at 18?
Correct.
But I had common sense. I knew that. But I was ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know how to say to anyone that he was hurting me. And then he kept coming back. So that was my way of protecting him too, because I would send him to jail and his mother would pick him up and bring him right back to me.
Okay. Now, how would
And to this
you?
day,
Oh, I apologize. You can go
go
for it.
ahead. I was just going to say to this day, I'm still healing with her behind that. And it's been almost 21 years.
Okay. Now, woman to
Yeah.
woman, how how did you feel? Like, although you were young, do you think that it was a lack of sex love that you might have been dealing with at that time, along with a lot of more other issues, for you to take him back? or did you feel obligated because you was pregnant?
Probably both,
Okay.
for sure, because my biological father from birth, he really didn't want me. He didn't want anything to do with me. He never had an opportunity to get to know me as a person. He don't know my spirit. So that right there was something that I searched for in a lot of men that I dated, and he was my mother's abuser, right? So that
Okay.
same trait, without me being consciously aware, I was attracted to. So yeah, so I agree. Yeah, it was yeah.
Okay, so let me say this to our audience because me being a stylist as well, I talk to a lot of women about a lot of different things, and not necessarily about relationships, but anybody who knows me know I often say to people that we as parents are our kids' number one gimmicks. So, which means what we display, that's what they pick up on. They benefit from it, whether it's good or bad. But I commend you as a woman that although you seen that, and like you said, it was familiar, you picked up on the spirit, and that's common to do. You picked up on the spirit, and the only father figure you seen, and I can contest to myself that a lot of times when our fathers are not in our life, we do look to the men that we date to be a father figure, because my father was never in my life. So I can remember when I first started dating my husband now, but a lot of things that I didn't even have as a father figure, I was looking for that in him. But we both growing too together. So, but it means that you was attracted to what you on the scene, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go forward. You for 9 months you getting abused, eyes black, and he will come back and say what?
He was sorry. Or sometimes he didn't really have an explanation. He just would come back. I wouldn't let him in. Sometimes he would break in. You know, he
Mm-hmm.
was. It was really like some TV. Like it was like, now thinking back, it was crazy. I
Yes.
remember
So
one time he jumped through the window, and who like, "What is you doing?" Because
he's
I
a
tried to get
superhero.
away. Yeah, because I tried to get away. I just didn't know how. But
Correct.
he would keep coming back and keep coming back. So
Okay. So let me ask you this: did you believe him when he would come back? Baby, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do it again.
I don't think I necessarily believed him. I just felt like you said, I was obligated. I probably felt more so obligated. I don't know if I necessarily ever really believed him to this day. I don't
Okay.
believe him. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we are powerless at this time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now you go to Chicago for a visit, correct?
And yep, and I had the baby. My
Mm-hmm.
mother would come pick me up towards the end of the pregnancy because I was on bed rest because he had like abused me severely. They put me on bed rest because I kept going in the ER because I was going into preterm labor. Because when he would hit me, it did something to my body.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he'd go to jail, get out, go to jail, get out. But anywho, when I got to Chicago, my mother just was like, you know what, you gonna have this baby. I had her a few days early. She did the old school style. She walked me, and we
Mm-hmm.
walked and walked and walked that baby up out of me. And then I had her in Chicago. You know, you have to wait a couple weeks before you travel.
Correct.
Came back home to Minnesota, and that's when he met his daughter. And the abuse continued for some months. I remember 8 months pregnant, he hit me so hard I dropped her.
Mm-hmm.
My body released and I dropped my baby, and that was when I left. That was my breaking point at that point.
Okay, so before we go to the breaking point, because I'm a little disturbed about something, let's go back some. So when he's being arrested, time after
Hmm.
time, time after time, restraining orders taken out, right?
I went through everything.
Okay, so never was he convicted of these charges?
First, it's another part to this story. So he lied about his age. So he was younger than me. So he was a juvenile, right?
Oh.
So I'm 18, he's 16. So that
Mm-hmm.
made a difference. I didn't know till I was pregnant, right? So that played a difference in going to jail and what happened with that. It was times I didn't go to court. It was times that the state would pick it up. It just was it was a lot, and it was at this point almost 21 years ago, but it was a lot.
Correct.
So he did a little time here and there,
Okay.
but yeah.
So now it explains why he wasn't convicted. Because if he's a juvenile and is
Hmm.
16, if their
Hmm.
juvenile system is anything like our juvenile system now, just a slap on the wrist, then that makes a difference. Okay,
Hmm.
so now we are pregnant, we have our baby, we come back home, and what happens from that point?
Well, my mother did bring me back and kind of stayed for a little bit, and then she had to go back to Chicago because she was going to move here. Because when I
Mm-hmm.
had my baby, she made the choice like, I'm going with my baby and grandbaby. Sometimes parents will feel like we'll be a better parent to our grandkids, right? They know
Correct.
they may have made some mistakes. So she had decided, I'm going, come help you, and she moved here, but she just didn't come for months. So
Okay.
for 8 months, the abuse continued.
Now, was mom aware of the abuse at all at this time?
I hid it. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know how to tell people. I was embarrassed. I just didn't know. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to speak. I was 18. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything.
Yes, and it's
So,
understandable. But even
hmm.
though you was ashamed then and you was embarrassed then, I commend you
Hmm.
now for giving your story.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, it's a lot of 20, 30, 40, 50-year old women that's probably experiencing, and not only women, but maybe men too, that's
Hmm.
experiencing it now who are still ashamed. So
Hmm.
hopefully somebody that's watching today will see the courage that you had, that although you was 18 then, we will now they are in their later years, then that means
Hmm.
that they will have all the courage to speak up.
Yes. Yeah.
Now as we go into we got a little bit of under a minute left. As we go into just closing this segment out, Latrina, what would you like to give the people um, a note on, encouraging them that if they are experiencing some of the things that they can do to help themselves?
I would strongly encourage them to have a connection, a spiritual connection, because if I didn't know or have God, I probably wouldn't be existing right now. And He actually like spoke to me many years ago and told me, like, I chose you to share your story and show people that they can take their power back. They can come back from rape and domestic violence and abuse, and from emotional to every form of abuse possible. I would say seek those resources in your area. First, call for help. There's, you can come anonymously and reach out. I do consultation calls when it comes to domestic violence. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm very open about my story in my life because it's healing for me, and I know that it's healing for someone else. I know that it's going to help someone else. So seek those resources. Reach out to someone, talk to someone. I would motivate and encourage you to do that.
Okay. Now, Latrina, I thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, as we are wrapping up part one, we will bring Latrina back next week for part two. And as we bring her back for part two, you remember on part one, she's powerless. But on part two, we will give the full story of who takes their power back. Latrina, I thank you this evening for joining us, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much. There you have it, directly from Real Talk with T. Holmes.